first of all, let me state that the council has not taken an official position at this time, but we have very definite concerns. Um, at first blush, the majority of my council is opposed, um, although again, we have not made any formal statement. Um, the immediate impact that we think we would see is that we collect approximately $650,000 in property taxes between the Lockwood and the Kennebec hydro dams. If that were to be put on the taxpayer to make that up, our residents could expect a 1 mil tax increase. That's $650,000 is approximately 1 mil. So it's a significant burden to the residential taxpayer should we lose that tax source. I am being told when I talk to the people at MDMR and others that are in favor of it that we should expect to make that up through sport fishing tourism. I just don't see that as being a likely outcome for Winslow, not at this time. We just don't have the recreational waterfront that would make that likely. Um, the other thing that would be kind of a domino effect of that is that these dams employ local people. Beyond that, the Sappi and Hutamaki plants employ local people, and those two businesses depend on the current water features that are created by the dams. All of those people spend money in our communities, or they are the employees or taxpayers in our communities. So they could be immediately impacted. Those businesses also employ local contractors for their goods and services. So the impact to local business has a ripple effect that needs to be considered. A cautionary tale, one of the other concerns we have is for the properties along the river. When we go back to removal of the Halifax Dam, which is touted as a great success, it was a great success in terms of fish migration. And I think all of us would like to see the diamorphous fish be able to go back to their native spawning grounds and to improve those populations. And certainly nobody wants to see extinction. However, we do have homes along these areas that people have lived in for a very long time as well. Let's keep in mind that these dams didn't go in, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. They went in a long time ago. The Halifax Dam resulted in the demolition of 6 homes along Delary Street. Those homes were sitting on a slope that became unstable due to the erosion when the dam was breached. And I'm concerned that we're going to see similar effects should the dams on the Kennebec be breached. We have multiple businesses all along the Kennebec slope along Winslow, and Winslow along Bay Street. What's going to happen if that slope becomes unstable? Will those businesses be forced to relocate or close if they can't afford to do that? So I just have very serious concerns about the impact to the residents and to the businesses that are already here and have been here for a considerable amount of time.
And Erica, I mean, you just kind of said, there's a lot of moving parts for this decision, and like you mentioned, off the top, how the council really hasn't made a stance, either way. And have you? I know this is this. If the dam were to be removed, it would really, be a while out in the future. But
Yes.
how even now are you and city staff or town staff and town council even having these conversations just to get everything in order to finally make a decision when the time comes?
Absolutely. I mean, nothing in government moves at much more than a snail's pace. So and the MDMR has been very specific in saying that the amendment says nothing about decommissioning of dams, and it doesn't. However, the stringent requirements that it's going to put on the dam owners to secure the fish passage is in effect probably going to result in dam removal. Fairfield's kind of in a worse position than we are because their dam, the Shawmut Dam, is currently up for renewal of licensing. And if that license is not renewed, that dam would be the first to go. So the dams here in Winslow are the Lockwood and the Kennebec hydro dams. It would take a while for that to happen, but certainly we need to be aware at the local government level, if this happens, what impacts are we going to see? How do we mitigate those impacts ahead of time? And one of the concerns I stated at the public hearing yesterday was, will the state have any type of support or assistance for the localities along the river that can be affected by these dam removals? It's not just those of us who actually have the dams within our jurisdictions, but further down the river, they could also see effects in terms of the sedimentation and the erosion factors that could happen as well.
Well, Erica, you just did a great job of explaining everything. And is there anything else that folks should know about when, because I think obviously like we've been talking about, there's kind of a lot of different things here. It's restoring the fish habitats, and the towns are concerned about losing revenue, and taxes going up for residents. And is there anything else that folks should really know about this issue?
Well, I think beyond the economic factors, because a lot of the proponents are kind of painting the picture that those of us who are not in favor of dam removal are only concerned about the monetary impacts.
Mhm.
And we are. But beyond that, we have two competing environmental issues here. We have fish habitat, spawning grounds, and repopulation versus clean energy. Right now, the biggest environmental threat to all of us is global warming. And energy production is a huge contributor to the carbon emissions that are spurring that global warming and the rate at which we're seeing it increase. So arguably, you could say that removal of the dams is actually more harmful to the fish in the long run, along with every other species that we have on the planet, whether they be waterborne or terrestrial. So I think that's another consideration. I do find it a bit ironic that we have these competing environmental factors. Generally, I fall on the side of pro-environment in almost everything I've ever done. That's kind of where I spent my schooling, and I spent a lot of years in the environmental arena when I was working in City of Lansing, in Michigan. So I am very concerned about our environment. I just think that when it comes to our responsibility as local leaders, our first responsibility has to be to the residents of our community and how they will be potentially negatively impacted.